Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Let me welcome you to the next Wasteless World Talks with Kevin and Bill. And today we have an easy topic. We will speak about one day. And because it's so easy, I will start with Kevin. So, Kevin, if you close your eyes, what do you see if I say one day?
I see the day that never arrives. All my friends, they say, you know, one day I'm going to do this. One day I'm going to do that. And they know, and I know that that day will never come.
That's interesting answer. What about you, Bill?
Similar. One day it talks about the future. I think one day we'll be able to do this. One day we will have all the money we need, or all the whatever we desire. So it's pointed at the future. Kevin never arrives is an interesting take on that. One day means other things as well. Our whole lives, even if we live to be 100, is still just one day. One day is everything can be in one day. It's an interesting concept.
So thank you for your answers. I cannot tell you this time how I came to the topic. To be honest, I don't know how. It came to me and I said, okay, that's interesting. And in the noon event about the same topic, I calculated how many days live my granddad. 36,405. This is a man who was 99 and 9 months when he left. So it's generally, these are days which are cross-connected. So a day which will not come, I don't know. Maybe it will come, maybe it will have a different shape, different style, different length, but it will come. So for me, if I see one day, I see all days. It's quite interesting. And what is interesting even more, that not two of them has been the same. That's so greatly done. I don't know why it's done this way, but I love it.
I think one interesting one day is our birthdays. It's impossible to remember what we were doing precisely 1 year ago, but we can more or less remember what we're doing around our birthday 1 year ago, and then before that and before that. And then the interesting thing is that I've now spent 62 days having birthdays. It's it actually doesn't sound that many, but when you add the other 364 days, it becomes quite a bit.
I like the suggestion that all the days are interconnected, because surely they are. And for anybody who says, well, one day I will have this, or one day I will be that, is today thinking about that, and thinking about that and talking about that helps to create that. So if you never thought about it, then one day it came, you would perhaps not recognize it. So I think that they are all connected in some way, and that each one would be different is a fascinating concept too. That there are just so many possibilities, so many branches in the road every single day. I think of the probability, the mathematical probability of having met my wife, who was born in Minsk, and the boy from Pittsburgh, and separated by several years, and how many branches in the road there needed to be for us to have at one point gotten together. And it's the same way with the day. There are just so many branches in the road that when we put our head on the pillow at night, how did that happen?
And you know, the great part is that you cannot skip over a day. It must be day after day. Even if you will sleep the whole day, you do not skip, you sleep. It cannot be done. So if we use instead of day, we use the step. You cannot do the third step without doing the second one. And that's great about it. You know, it's so fascinating. And so many people say, I just wasted my day. Or my time. It's just another term for time, of course. But how they can waste their time. If I look back, all the time I remember, I think I never wasted a single day. And just one interesting story. In my country, there is not only birthday coming to Kevin, but we have a names day as well. There is a calendar with all the names, and my name, Michael with E at the end, was not in the calendar for a long time. It was added just few years ago generally. But I celebrate with Michael without the E at the end. It was 29th of September. So a few days ago. And I just learned a few days ago that September 29th is the World Bureaucracy Day since 2016. And since 2019, it is even more interesting. UN named this day the Day of Awareness Against Food Waste. You know, so they did it 5 years after I informed them, or 4 years after I informed them about the existence of systematic waste prevention. And I have learned a few years later that they generally make it a day, and it is my name's day at the same time. So it's really great. And you probably don't know that on October 1st is again, UN, name it, the Day of Senior Citizens. Or no, the Day of Older People, I think is the official name. Day of Older People. So I hope you have not celebrated. You are too young to do so.
Interesting
yeah.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I was going to say, isn't it World Mental Health Awareness Day coming up as well? I think maybe this week. But I think it's one of those days which is it's a day well spent to spread awareness about mental illness.
Don't we need 2 days or a week to work on that one?
A week would be better.
Yeah. Yeah. Your mention, Michael, of time is another subject. Yes, one day is simply another way to describe time. But then there are some people who believe that time does not exist. The past is just memories that could have been placed in your brain, and the future is just conjecture. And time does not exist except for right now. So one day does not exist except for right now, perhaps.
I was yesterday on an event in Africa, and it was called Money as the Motivation for Growth. And today, I have a short speech there. And today, one of the people who spoke there contacted me and sent me his short video. And he speaks about that, and he says many times in his speech, money was created by God. And I was confused. He even mentioned where in the Bible it is written, so several times in the Bible. But it will be the same like time was created by God, but money and time, and we spoke about it before, has been created by people to control other people. And so I was confused that it is even written in a Bible. I did not check. I do not have Bible in here, but I do believe him. Why not? So, but is it so? I don't know.
I'm not a Bible expert. There's only a
Nano
couple of times in the Bible that I remember money being mentioned, about tithing and giving to the church, about when Judas turned Jesus into the soldiers and he was paid his pieces of silver. And when Jesus was in the temple and there were all the money changers in the table and he turned over all the tables and drove them out. So in each case, money is associated, well, not in the first case. In the second two cases, money is associated with something less than desirable. So I don't know. I would have to see the passage in the Bible, but I do know that in the Bible you can prove almost anything that you want. It's like my mother used to say, be careful what you believe. There are facts all around us to support anything you want to believe. So it's your choice what to believe. And in fact, in high school, I was on the debate team, and the resolution for that year was that it is, I forget how it was worded exactly, but that it was acceptable or even the purpose, it was okay for one human being to own another human being. And I won every debate, and I used the Bible to prove it. You can prove whatever you want, so you have to be careful what you choose to believe.
And I also think that, the rich, they have pretty good PR people on their side. So I'm sure that they could arrange to have the odd sentence here and there dropped into the Bible throughout history to put them in a good light.
I mentioned last time my discussion with ChatGPT with this article about Seinfeld and so on, Industry 5.0 Seinfeld. You know who has a bigger endurance in the discussion? And I will give you advice, it was not ChatGPT. It gave up. After 5 days, it simply gave up. It does not reply anymore. And at the end, it called me, I put it in some post, I don't know. So it used psychology to analyze me, and it used many other things. They call me megaloman. Megaloman.
They called you what?
Megaloman. So I need to find it exactly what was the term, but I cannot do it right now because we are recording and it will be not recorded properly. So
ChatGPT stopped responding to you.
yes.
Do you think that that's written into the program that says if somebody becomes such a pain in the butt that they won't go away, that you're allowed to just pull the plug on them?
I don't know. To be honest, I have two possibilities. One is as you described. The second is that I provide ChatGPT with all the information, including all my articles and so on, to study before it deliver the answer. Despite the fact that AI says that my the Wasteless World story can be written in, I don't know, 90 minutes, it cannot be because there are so many links and so on. So even AI will have a trouble to read all 1,200 articles with all the links connected and to understand. That's the special one. So if it will not answer in few more days, I will say it was 5 days is max. Don't speak with anyone. Don't waste your time to speaking with anyone with more than 5 days. If it will reply, I think it will be connected to reading all the articles, or at least get more information about Industry 5. So let's see. We will touch this topic on the next Wasteless World Talk next week.
I read a nice comment today actually about ChatGPT. And some guy, he said, why should I bother to read a text that a human can't be bothered to write?
That's right. So if one day is today, and if there is no time, then one day is the only day. Today is the only day we have. So what shall we do today to make that all that worthwhile?
I will say that because both of you are futurists, you don't believe there is only one day. And I don't either, because my aim is to build wasteless world, and I know it, I cannot do it today. So if I will limit myself to today only, to the perspective of today, I will never do what I do.
But if you don't push yourself to your limit today, you won't you won't get there tomorrow.
You know, there was another quite interesting part of the discussion in Africa yesterday. The speaker, there was a lot of, he said that generally he is not paying more money to some others. If somebody would like to make his website for 100, he will not pay him 200. And he explained why. He said, if I place an order to make a website and I've been offered 100 as a price, will you do more if I will pay you, or will you do better if I will pay you 200? And the person says, no, I will do already on the first order, I will do my max. So you will not get better website probably, or better result. You can order another part. So make a second order with 100, which I will concentrate on. I cannot do more. So the limits are there. Again, it's artificial thing. So I don't feel like I am on the limits. You know, I get used to work 14 hours a day. It's fine. I have a lot of discussion. Everything is running as it is. It looks like that we are the time, or I am the time, because we do not wear any watches. We feel the time different way. You see the future from the perspective of future you see today, as you explained. And so I see better, or my view on the day, I would like to see it as this one day after the another, the chain of days, as you express it. This is how I see it. And of course, there can be a question, is there a day in your life which you will remember forever? Is there any, Kevin?
Yes, it'll be the cooler days, because every day we spend for the rest of our lives will be warmer than it was a year before. And so every day will be warmer than it's ever been before. And we'll look back on these times as great times, because as it gets hotter and hotter, we will have nothing but the past to look forward to.
What about you, Abel? What is the day? Is it the day when you met your wife?
It's the day I married her.
That's beautiful. Why it is not the day of your birthday, of your birth, not day of your birth? I know that we do not remember this moment, but that's generally changed our life.
I think because on that day 20 years ago, so many fears disappeared and so many hopes came true all in that one day.
And did you have a day which usually, if you expect something, a lot of it will happen or will not. But did you have a day in which, for example, you deliver keynote or you write part of the book or something, which results in very unexpected things which you never expected to happen on that day? And you did not have the feeling that it, or you have the feeling that something will happen that day. but you did not know what it can be. And then the result was, wow.
I think that in writing, it's quite often like that. It's actually rare for me to sit down in the morning and know how the story is going to develop during the day. And it's the days when you have no idea that can be surprisingly good. I remember one morning I was getting ready to go to the office, and I snapped my shoelace. And of course, it snapped just in the place that neither half was long enough to be used again. And I was so annoyed. And I got to the office and I started, about the story I was in, I started writing about shoelaces. And it sounds so ridiculous, but it made such a big difference to the overall story. It became really, really funny.
And that you remember that.
Yeah.
Such an insignificant little thing becomes so important, both for your story and in what you remember. When you were talking about the weather earlier, what day was so important? And I can remember walking outside the first cold day after a hot summer. After a hot, muggy summer of every day, you just move as slowly as you can, not to exert yourself. And then one day you walk outside, boom, it's crisp and clean, cool, and you just want to dance a jig. You just want to, everything becomes okay. I'm still waiting for that this year. Hasn't happened yet this year.
It will come.
One day.
Have either of you two guys spent a whole day in darkness or in light, like in the northern or southern extremes of the planet?
I was in St. Petersburg for the White Nights. It's not the same thing as what you're asking, but that's the closest I've come. But I've heard that there are camps that you can go to, and for I don't know how many days, and what it does to your brain. So finish that thought, Kevin. I'm fascinated by that.
I was just thinking that if you, a friend of mine, she lives in northern Siberia, and she's saying that it won't be for another couple of months, but then the sun will disappear for, I think, 6 to 8 weeks. And that is a day like no day we know, because we use the light to navigate through a day. And to lose that means that your relationship to a day is completely different. It has to be in your relationship to, it's not 24 hours anymore because it doesn't change from day to night. It's just a 6-week day in a way.
It's got to be very disorienting.
Yeah.
I have spoken before on my podcast. I spoke with a lady, a young lady who moved from Czech Republic to Iceland. And of course, she described this situation, and she described that even people living there at the time of a permanent night fell in a depression. That generally the economy is prepared for that. So all the pills are prepared. Everybody has the pills and lighting, special lighting, which simulate the sun and so on. But she said it's a horrible time. It's really horrible. I do remember myself when I was a kid, and I had so I practice martial arts, and I have I don't know why, generally I bind my eyes and try to do everything with binded eyes, not to see. Even boil water and make a tea. Trust me, it was a painful experience, but at the end you learn it. You just burn the finger twice, and for the third time you know how to do. And it was very interesting because after that, your vision improve in night. is the same like if you will close your eyes before you switch the light in the room and you open it after, you will recognize much faster than if you are away. But I have spoken as well with a man who has experience with this 1 week time or 5 days in the darkness, total darkness. It's being offered as a service, or I don't know how to call it. And he said generally that the first days are really crazy because you don't feel whether it's day or night. But then it calms down and you learn how to live in total darkness. And it brings you health generally, or it somehow improve your mental things if you survive the first few days.
So,
The interesting thing, oh, sorry, Bill.
so you cannot judge the passage of time.
No.
So the of course very disorienting. So then how long do you sleep? So because you can't be terribly physically active or you keep bumping into the chairs and stuff. So you're fairly inactive. So does that affect your sleep pattern? And do you sleep ultimately at night, or do you sleep for 8 hours, or do you sleep instead in small time frames in an hour at a time or something? But what does that do to your body patterns and your body rhythms, um, such as sleep? Did he mention? Did he describe
I
that?
did not ask. I did not ask. I will ask him next time when I see him.
I think one interesting thing is that would you prefer to spend 6 weeks in daylight or 6 weeks in night? And I think I would rather spend it in night than in day.
Me too.
I would like to spend 1 or 2 or 3 days in night, and then I'll answer your question. Oh, I think that would be so disorienting.
Regarding the feeling of the time, I don't know if you ever work night shifts.
It killed me. It killed
But
me.
you know that your body partly.
I'm only 29 years old, but look what I look like, right? It killed me.
Your body gets used to it somehow, a little by little. Somebody adapt faster, somebody not so fast, but the body adapt generally. So I did. So, and it was, for me, it was same. So I slept because I am able to sleep even during the day. I have no trouble with it. But there are people who has even trouble to sleep at night. So I am not the guy with this problem, and I am happy. So, but the body adapts. But the interesting question is, if we touch this topic generally, it's about the feeling of the days. You ask, how long did they sleep? They don't know, because they have no watch, they have no clock, they have nothing like that. Of course, there can be some monitoring, and maybe there is some monitoring, I don't know, because of course you have to protect the clients against something. So there can be infrared cameras, or I don't know, something probably. But you don't know. And the great part is, if you survive and you get out, you feel probably better. That was the answer of all the people which make it, and I spoke with 5 or 6, and all of them feel better after, mentally.
I used to work on a ship, and there we had 3 crews, and we would each crew would spend a week in a certain time. And my favorite was the 4 in the morning watch until midday, because you felt extremely tired when you started, but to see the sun come up, and just before dawn, you feel that this day is mine. I own this day. It's coming for me. I'm up to see it occur. And that was such a great feeling. But the change, when you change from one day to the next, that was very hard.
And I wake up almost every day at 4. So I'm in the office for 10, for 20. And I really enjoy exactly what you described. I enjoy these moments because it looks really fascinating as the day is being born.
A friend of mine, he used to get up extremely early as well. And he said, you know, while everyone's sleeping, they're not disturbing the thought waves. So I get all my desk work done before people wake up and start thinking too much.
So the day has so many facets.
So if you lived in a place that was dark all the time, do you have lighting and so on? Can you use the computer? Can you see what you're writing? Or I know that therapy camp is total darkness and there is no light. But one of the ways that we measure, um, well, we measure our worth of the day. Did you waste the day, or was it a good day, or whatever? That's a question of the value that you have brought to the day. But if I can't see to use the computer, or I can't see to maybe build something, or if I can't, then my accomplishments for the day are totally mental, right?
Uh, you will not be connected with the results, let's say. So you will not, no. On the other hand, your touch sense will improve significantly. But what I
Right.
would like to say, I don't know if you have heard about dark factories and dark warehouses. It's quite a new term. It's in logistics and in the industries, and this is connected to robots because in the warehouse robots don't need the lighting, and they don't even need a ventilation and so on. So there are many things which robots do not need, and some factories already are testing the dark factories where no people, maybe in the office, but if you go somewhere, you don't. Of course, there is some emergency lighting and so on if needed. And I have been to dark warehouse, or I have seen the operation. You don't see anything because the machines don't need it. They pick it up according to the infra scanners and everything. They know the locations. They can pick it up, and the accuracy of the systems is 98%, 99 sometimes. So it's really high, and it looks like that we are developing this type of technologies, again, for machines, not for people. But if you look back in a very, very history, the first people live in the caves. They don't have lights. After they invented fire, of course, but before, they hide in a cave. They behave like animals. Many animals live in a cave. And it has a reason. I think that there must be something more than just as you mentioned it, how you use a term that you have only mental benefits, or I don't remember the name, the word.
Yeah. Any progress that you make or any accomplishments that you make throughout the course of the day, which is how you can value and you can respond to the question, how was your day? Oh, good, I did this and this and this. But if you didn't do this and this and this, then how do you evaluate whether or not it was a productive day? How do you define productive? And if it's all mental, you could say, well, I figured out the Pythagorean theorem, or you could say something like that. But honestly, I don't know how you would say it's been a good day or not.
On the other hand,
That
there
would,
are many people we can ask. So many people are blind. And we can ask them, if all people will be living in the darkness and our development will be as it is, the computers will exist. They will just not have a screen,
right.
because screen will not be needed. I have just seen a very interesting, a blind lady gave a birth, or was expecting a child. And she was on this ultraviolet, or this scanning of the child in the abdomen, and they printed for her on 3D printer. You know, she can touch her child before it was born. It was so emotional. It was really, really great.
One time at work, we had a visitor come to talk to us, and he was the president or the chairman of the Danish Deaf and Blind Association. So he was actually both deaf and blind. And he was coming from the other side of the country. So we offered to pick him up in a car. And he said, no, I'll use public transport. So he got on a bus, got on a train, got on another bus in Copenhagen, and came to our office and gave us this talk. And it was extraordinarily uplifting. Really an amazing person.
And what is crazy, and I faced this 40 years ago, maybe. We have been in a hotel where only blind and deaf people work. And we have to learn, as a child, we have to learn how to say, I need more, and so on. It was quite interesting. And I realized 20 years later that only the deaf people, or only the people who cannot speak, these are not deaf, these are, how it's called, the word.
No.
Yeah, and people, so they are the only one who can speak, who can travel whenever they want, and they will be able to communicate with the others who have the same. Of course, there are some small differences, but the basic they will be able to say in their way with the hands. So it's quite interesting. And it's, you know what is interesting? How far we get from one day is all the time the discussion is in this way. And just to tell you, we have 2 minutes 30 left, or 40 at the moment. So
there's just so many different layers, and you don't understand the simple word until you have peeled back some of these layers, and it's helpful to do it with others because they're not apparent. If I just sit here by myself, these layers are just not apparent to me. But when we get in a group and discuss, then the layers just fly off.
And I think that, imagine if we lived 200 years ago, how different a day would be. I don't think we'd have as much fun, as many laughs, as much enjoyment, relaxation, and time to reflect. I think back then, a day was a much harsher proposition than the days we face today. Depending
on whether or not you were a worker or a rich person. Perhaps as it is today. I regret that some of the things have changed, like the dinner hour, and sitting around the dinner table with the family talking for hours afterwards, or retiring to the parlor so the guys could have their brandy and everybody would talk for hours, and that was the entertainment. But it just strikes me as having, that was really cerebral.
And unfortunately, we are at the best stage and we have to end because it's less than 1 minute. So I would like to thank you, Kevin and Bill, for great Wasteless World Talk. I am sure we will see each other next week again. And I would like to wish everyone, have a nice time for your waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, free, and please don't waste a single of your time, of your days. Thanks a lot and see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.